with Gary Cherry and Coach Johnny Toombs. Brought to you by Athletic Supply, Davis Shoes, Luther Bells, Jimmy Cobb Insurance, Texarkana Athletic Club, Regency House, McGuire Sound, Photomation, Coca-Cola Bottling Company, Orr Chevrolet, Texarkana Immediate Care, Raffaelli Realty, Hunter Power Saw, American National Bank, White's Glenwood House, Pepsi-Cola Bottling Company, Hopkins Economart, Teachers Credit Union, Daily Fence Company, Ramblin' Rose Florist, and Berkshire Homes Incorporated.
Welcome to Pleasant Grove Hawk football. Athletic Director and Head Football Coach Johnny Toombs. Last Friday night, Game 3 of the 1986 football season, the Hawks traveled to Commerce, Texas. They only scored 9 points, but it was a 9-6-7 victory over the Commerce team. Johnny, important victory.
It was a hard-fought victory on the road for the Hawks, the first road victory ever. Great come-from-behind win. The Hawks played a very good football game, and we made a lot of progress this week, Gary.
One thing about the game last week, Commerce 2-0 in the non-conference, unscored on for the year. You expect a pretty good, maybe offensive show, but it was a defensive battle. But yet Pleasant Grove got a break or two here or there and went on to win the game 9-7, but a very big loss in that ball game. Explain why.
Well, we did roll up a lot of yardage, and our offense looked good, and our defense played just, super. Tony Wilshire received a shoulder injury, and we don't know the status of that injury yet. One report said it'll probably be maybe the rest of the season that Tony will be out. Another report said that he might be back in a week or two, and we'll know in a few days. Tony's very important to our football team, but Tony will be the first one to tell you that there's some other youngsters that'll step in as they did last Friday night, and we hate it for Tony, and we hate it for the team, but we'll all have to move forward from here.
Scott Eichhorn stepped in, Johnny, last Friday night, and he had 17 carries, had 103 yards. Young man stepped in there and did a good job.
He really did, and we put Scott in a bad situation because Scott had been playing wingback for us, and he hadn't worked out at tailback an awfully lot. In fact, John Simpson, who had been running second tailback, was also hurt and was out. So we had to switch Scott over from wingback, and some of the plays he was a little confused on at times, but he did a super job, as did Van Mars, who also carried the ball from tailback.
I know you defensive coaches were real excited. Only, 6-7 points scored by Commerce in a game that when you're expecting a little more offensive show, but the defense from last week's 50 points scored on them came right back and did the job.
Well, they did. They had a real good defensive effort. We gave up one long touchdown pass, which was really the only real bad offensive play we made. Our kicking game was a lot better. We had a couple of shaky kickoff covers late in the ball game, but Coach Fawcett and the defensive staff did a super job, had a great game plan, and the offensive staff did a good job. We moved the football very well against Commerce, and it was a total team victory for everyone on the Hawk squad.
Well, we've got a lot of excitement coming your way for the first half of action, but first let's take a trip down to the practice field with Coach Pitts and the offensive line.
I'd like to introduce Coach David Pitts to the Hawk fans. Coach Pitts in his first year at Pleasant Grove. He was head football coach at Foreman, Arkansas last year. Coach Pitts coaches the offensive line. At this time, Coach Pitts, would you introduce them for us?
Yes, sir. All right, these young men are the ones we lovingly refer to as the Hogs. They're the basis of our offense. On this end down here, we've got Todd Altman, Kevin Whitworth, J.J. Strickland, Rocky Wood, Eric Monty, and Elmer Beasley. All right, starting on the second row, Stephen Farquhar, Mason Peebles, Bill Stone, Mike Young, Craig Schultz, Jerry Moody, Ed Zid, and Jimmy Townsend. All right, on the top row, we've got Frank Goodrich, Matt Robertson, Tommy Welch, David Murphy, Stephen Frazier, Keith Fincher, Gary Early, and Mike Kyles.
Coach Pitts, we'd like to thank you for the work you've done with the offensive line. There's been a lot of competitiveness in this group, and we know that any success we have with our offense is going to depend on these Hogs.
Okay, Jonathan, we're sending you back in time.
Before television, radio, even before soft drinks. Careful. Anything you do could change history.
Mum's the word.
Activate time travel mode to the year 1885.
He's there.
Hey, where's my Pepsi?
It's... Oh, no. He took it.
Relax, Smith. What could 12 ounces of Pepsi possibly change?
Yeah, what could happen?
Pepsi, the choice of a new generation.
You know, giving yourself a gift for the home sure makes a lot of sense these days, especially when you have to watch your budget like Deborah and I do. It's really the only practical thing to do at Christmas time. Our new dining group is already here for us to enjoy now, through the holidays, and for years to come.
So when you want more, so when you want more than just a furniture store, it's White's Glenwood House.
American National Bank is your full-service bank. For your convenience, our drive-through windows open from 7:30 to 6 weekdays and 9 till noon on Saturdays. As the financial leader in Northwest Texarkana, American National Bank offers interest-bearing checking accounts, money market accounts, IRAs, CDs, and will assist you for your mortgage loan, automobile, personal, or commercial loan. Deposit or withdraw at your convenience with Max 24. American National Bank, 2301 Richmond Road, member FDIC.
Memorial Stadium on the campus of East Texas State University. Big ball game for Game 3, 1986 season, Johnny.
Well, it was our longest road trip, and you know, the kids were excited about playing in the college stadium, and we had a big crowd of supporters there. A lot of our adult fans and also our student body showed up in force, and it really gave the kids a boost when they saw all the friendly faces. There was a good wind blowing from our right to left on the screen, so Commerce chose to hold their option until the second half, and we received against the wind. Van Morris got a good kick return, and we set up shop on about the 26, and the Hawks put on a very impressive drive here. Commerce is only going to run 3 offensive plays in the first quarter and a half, Gary, and we completely dominated the first quarter.
Quarterback sneak.
David Oliver on third down in just an inch or two. Tony Wilshire made a couple of good runs, and here's Tony again behind good blocking from Craig Schultz and Chad Davis and Mike Young. Moving the ball down the field, we bogged down a little bit, and on third down, this third down pass was intercepted, but we ran a lot of time off the clock and started Commerce on their own end of the field. Defense seems to be Johnny on the spot all over the field so far. Well, our defensive team really played well. Defensive ends Ed Zidd and Mike Kiles did a super job. Our defensive tackles, several people played there. Greg Knapp did a good job along with Mark Hawkins and Gary Early and Jimmy Townsend. And they ran 3 plays and had to punt the football away, and they punt with a good win, and it takes a good Commerce bounce, and we're going to start on the 23-yard line, I believe. And this was a 21-play drive, Gary, which is a coach's dream. There's Trace Warren off tackle. Tony Wilshire on the quick pitch behind the blocking of Jimmy Townsend moves downfield for a first down about midfield. Here's Tony again. We had a busted assignment in the line, but we get back to the line of scrimmage. This used up an awful lot of clock. In fact, the first quarter is going to run out during this drive. There's Tony again, and there's the shoulder injury. He fell on it with a couple of guys on top of him, just hit wrong, and he will come back and play a few more plays, but he didn't even dress out in the second half. There's Todd Hiram behind a good trap block by Jerry Moody, and good blocks by Bill Stone. Scott Eichhorn in the ball game now, and the Hawks are hammering away, moving the ball down toward the Commerce goal. Eichhorn on the quick pitch. Kenny Davis in blocking well. Eichhorn down to about the 2, and Commerce is going to hold us down here for 2 or 3 plays. This is the third down effort, and David Oliver's a little bit short. In fact, Tony comes back in for this play and gets over for the touchdown.
Tony, a 1-yard plunge into the end zone, 6-0 right now. This is a controversial extra point, Johnny.
Well, it's very controversial. You know, we didn't have a very good angle, but it looked like it went right inside the upright, and they, you know, signaled it was no good, and we always feel like extra points are important, and we certainly know that one was. And in fact, they got a 15-yard penalty on the play, and we kicked off from the 25, and they make a good break on the kick return, and they're going to start off on our 27-yard line. the Hawks are going to rise up here. That's Trace Warren, linebackers Trace Warren, Todd Hiron, Craig Schultz played a good ball game. We only made one mistake really all night long, and it's going to come on a long pass here a few minutes later. But this is Jimmy Townsend, Trace Warren. Boy, there was just a tremendous collision on the sideline. That was a 4th down play. So we come back and make a little error on the option play and give them the football right back. We had to juggle some personnel around. After Tony got hurt, John Simpson was hurt. He's another tailback. We had to move our wing backs to tailback, and it really caused some confusion. And this is just a good pass and catch by Commerce.
Billy Cunningham, 35-yard pass from Sean Elmore.
And then their extra point looked a little bit wider than ours was, and you know, it was good, and that made it 7-6. And Grover just can't believe it, and you know, we're disappointed also. So we're behind 7-6, but we're really not concerned. We just never felt like we were going to lose the ball game because we dominated play so much. It's John Simpson on a good kick return, got us out to 46. Here's Scott Eichhorn picking up good yardage, but there was a clip on the play against the Hawks, and this is right before the half, and that hurt us. That kept us out of field goal range. And Chad Dotson did a good job snapping deep for punts this week, and Kenny Davis did a real fine job punting the football. And he was able to keep Commerce away from our goal line. Good job there, Mike Kiles, David Fawcett. Cuts off the run there. Steve Cullen had a good game in the secondary with John Simpson. Jeff White got his first start as a Hawk and did a great job in the secondary. This is that's Commerce's first down of the half right there, other than their scoring play. It's Greg Knapp, Trace Warren, Jeff White on this tackle. Time's running out now before the half, and we've loosened up because we know they're going to throw. And Steve Cullen makes a great interception here right at the end of the quarter, and we just elect to fall on the ball and go in and regroup at halftime. Score 7-6 at halftime.
It's 7-6, John, at halftime, with Tony Wiltshire getting hurt in the second quarter. Also, John Simpson getting hurt also in the second quarter. What kind of adjustments did you have to make at halftime with personnel?
Well, we had to move the two youngsters that play wing back for us, Van Morris and Scott Eichhorn. We had to move them to tailback, so we had to do a real crash course and adjust it. Although the two positions are similar and they knew most of the plays, there were a couple of things we had to talk about. We had to eliminate some of our play selection because we didn't feel like the youngsters had practice time to work on it. Jimmy Townsend was also down at a tackle, so we had to get some more tackles ready. And defensively, we had a couple of pass plays from Commerce that we were worried about. We didn't feel like Commerce could drive the ball the length of the field. So we were concerned about field position and getting on the scoreboard and trying to take advantage of our strengths.
What about any defensive changes? You basically stay with the same defensive techniques?
Yes, we did. We had the turnover down on our end of the field, and Commerce hit the long pass. And we really didn't think they were going to be able to move the ball. In fact, I made one call on a 4th and 1 on our own 24, which is uncharacteristic, and I would never have thought of making a call like that. First of all, we thought we could make the first down, but we really didn't feel like Commerce was going to score anymore in the ball game.
We've got a barn burner coming in your way this next half, and if you've got any heart problems, you may not want to watch this next half. But before we get that second half coming your way, let's take another trip back to the practice field and talk to Coach Ron Holly with the receivers.
Today I'd like to introduce Coach Ron Holly. Coach Holly's in his first year at Pleasant Grove, moving over from New Boston, where he was a member of their high school staff. Coach Holly will coach our tight ends and our wing backs, and I know these receivers have been working very hard, and Coach Holly, we're expecting big things from them. We'd like for you to introduce them right now, if you would.
Okay, thank you, Coach Toombs. Hey, Brian Reed, Chris Chandler, E.J. Pate, Cliff Jones, Dusty Rowe, Steve Culling, John Hodges, Kevin Hughes, John Bias, Kyle Campbell, Jeff White, Tom Dunn, Torrance Nettles, Scott Eichhorn, Barry Odom, Chad Davis, Greg Knapp, Mark Hawkins, John Daly, Kenny Davis, Dan Owens, Skipper Hastings.
Coach Hawley, we'd like to thank you and your wingbacks and ends for the work that they've done, and I know that we're going to be able to block well and catch a football this year for the Hawks.
More than 1/3 of the people who might want to buy your home come from out of town. Fortunately, we have a lot of offices out of town, all across the country, and all are ready to send us the buyers for your home. Better Homes and Gardens, the better way to sell your home.
My jewelry means a lot to me. I think it says something about who I am and how I feel. All of my jewelry comes from Luther Bells in Texarkana. I know at Luther Bells I can get the quality I want at the most affordable price. And they take a personal interest. They know what I like and what I want. Whether it's a gift for someone or something special for me, I know it's the best quality for the price. I love my jewelry, and I think you'll love what you find at Luther Bells, where fine jewelry is affordable.
Daily Fence Company, serving Texarkana with quality in the board and chain fencing business, now offers cloth awnings at an unbelievable price. For patios, storefronts, even windows, enhance the beauty of your home or business with durable awnings. Regulate the warmth and brilliance of the sun with a wide variety of colors and styles to choose from. Call today. Free estimates or planning service. Satisfaction is guaranteed. Cloth awnings, now at Daily Fence Company. Call 838-7892.
Ford Truck Center beats them all for selection, price, and financing. Choose Chevy's tough C10 work truck loaded with air, power, and all these options. Just $92.99. Or get the Silverado with a V8, dual tanks, and all this. An unbelievable $10,495. When it comes to trucks, you should come to Ord Truck Center for the best price, best selection, and best financing. We beat them all at Ord Truck Center, State Line in Texarkana.
Commerce has a 7-6 lead starting the third quarter, John. It looks like that the Commerce team will also receive the football starting the third quarter.
They exercised their option in the first half to wait until the second half, and our little barefooted sophomore kicker, Brian Baker, with the wind at his back, booted it into the end zone, and great way to start the second half. But then we allow the Commerce runner to break, and Craig Schultz and Kenny Davis drag him down about midfield, so they have good field position on us early. But the Hawks defense, led there by Ed Zid, come up with a big play to slow them down.
Good pursuit there by Zid.
And Commerce is forced to punt. Kicks a short kick, which Van can't handle, and we're going to start off with the 14-yard line. We didn't enjoy a very good field position this second half. Good run by Scott Eichhorn behind some good blocks by John Hodges and Chad Davis. Tommy Welch played a lot in the offensive tackle. There's Scott down the middle of the line, but we had a holding call, moved us back to the 9-yard line. David Oliver still at quarterback, hands off to Scott, a big gaping hole, and Scott bangs out to the 20-yard line. Our offensive line did a super job. Scott again off tackle. We're not trying to do anything real fancy. We feel like we can run our off tackle play, and here's a big play here, and in retrospect, not a very good call, but we had a fourth down and about an inch on our own 24, and we went for it, and the defense got me out of a jam because they're going to come back and hold Commerce here. We really just didn't feel like Commerce was going to score. We felt like, we get on the scoreboard one more time, we're going to win. We try a little counter play here, and John Hodges comes up a little short on fourth down, so we have to punt away. And Kenny this time gets the ball out in good shape, and good coverage there by Van, and here comes the posse to help him, and I think Mark Hawkins finally makes the tackle. Commerce on our 40, big hit there by Trace Warren. Steve Cullen also went on that play. Good job by David Fawcett as we move into the fourth quarter now.
That defense is just all of the football, Johnny. You have to really admire the defensive unit.
Well, we kind of put our backs to the wall in the third quarter, and our defensive unit did keep them out of the end zone. Now we're going against the wind. That's Van Morris out to about the 30. Scott Eichhorn makes a good run here, gets out almost to midfield. We're going to take the ball down in field goal range. Van again on the quick pitch. Good block there by 73. That's Mason Peebles. Van's down to about the 23, 24-yard line.
Good run by Van Morris.
Van and Scott both stepped in and just really did yeoman service for us there. And as I mentioned, had to really, work on some of the plays. We tried a field goal, and Brian just didn't get all of that one, and it fell short. That was his first field goal, well, second field goal attempt, I guess, as a football player, and you know, he's going to get better every week. There's a big tackle by Trace Warren. Commerce goes back to punt, and I believe this is the one that's going to hit. We didn't field it. It's going to bounce all the way, I don't know, the 1 or 2 yard line, and we decided we're going to throw the football and see what happens. And David Fawcett just threw a perfect strike, and Steve Cullen made a great catch. And it's only about 5 minutes to go in the ball game. We had to make something happen, so we took a little gamble, and the kids executed and it paid off. And here comes Van again on the sweep. Scott Eichhorn up the middle, makes a good run, bounces to the outside. Thought he was going to go all the way, was pulled down on the 12-yard line. There's like 3 minutes to go in the ball game. Van off tackle down inside the 5. And here's the field goal, and I mean, Brian Baker split it right down the middle. David Fawcett did a great job getting the ball on the tee. Bill Stone made a good snap, and the entire Hawk squad executed the field goal very well.
Brian Baker gets credit for a 25-yard field goal, 9-7.
And Brian Baker makes the tackle on the ensuing kickoff. The youngster broke, got out to the 40, and Brian made the tackle. And first play here, Trace Warren on a tip, deflected pass, makes a great interception. We need to make a first down or two and run the clock out, and we're not able to do that. But this is Van off tackle. They make a good tackle there, and with about a minute to go, well, Kenny Davis punts the ball away, and Van Morris got his chin split open on this play and had to have some stitches. But of course, Commerce comes out throwing the last few plays, and the defense again does a great job. There's David Fawcett out in the flat on that one. We're in a victory defense. This pass was dropped with Craig Schultz recovering, and we get the ball back, and Commerce is out of timeout, so we fall on it 3 or 4 times, and boy, that final score looks good, 9-7.
Some more firsts for Pleasant Grove for 1986. Their first road victory. Also, they had their first field goal that was good with Brian Baker kicking it to win the ball game, 9-7.
That, of course, the field goal came after a 98, 99-yard drive at the end of a ball game, which was very impressive. We're very proud of the kids' character and their ability to do that. The road victory was great. I wish that every Hawk fan could have been on the bus coming home after the game Friday night. The kids sang, and they chanted, and they laughed, and they had a very good time. And of course, the first time they've really ever been able to do that. And I think a lot of the hard sweat, the hard work, and the sweat and the tears was all worthwhile for the youngsters Friday night, because they did have a good time coming home.
You have to really credit your entire football team. You had a main player to go down in the second quarter, Tony Wiltshire. Scott Eichhorn steps in with 103 yards on 17 carries. Van Morris gets the ball a few more times, and he has about 60 yards on the ground. So really, you have to really credit your entire team, your coaching staff.
Well, we do. I told the coaches last night when we got in how much I appreciated the effort that they put in. The Hawks were very well prepared. We knew we'd had a good week of practice. We knew when we stepped on the game field last Friday night the Hawks were ready to play. Our fullbacks, Todd Hiron and Trace Warren, blocked well. The quarterbacks executed well. The backs ran hard. The linemen blocked excellent. I think they're all going to grade out very well. The defense didn't have many bad plays at all, with the exception of the long pass. They played very sound, solid defense, and the kicking game was good, and it was just a great win for the Hawks and for our program.
Well, there were 294 total yards in offense last Friday night, and I know that your quarterbacks, you still work with David Oliver and David Fawcett. Both these two young men are still playing good football.
Right. We're working David Oliver some at wide receiver, and we're probably going to see him in that position more and more. Each of them have capabilities and have strong points and obviously weak points, as we all do. David Fawcett threw the big pass last Friday night that got us out of the jam. Of course, David Oliver led the rushing attack the entire first half. So they complement each other well, and we're going to have to try to get the right people in the right spot and utilize all of our talents the best we can.
Well, sometimes after you get 50 points scored on you 1 week earlier, you think, well, we need to do some changing in defense, but you just came right back and played real strong defense this last Friday night.
Well, this was a real gut check for the Hawks, to go that far. We didn't know how we were going to react after last week's, fiasco with Jefferson, but, we put that in the back of our minds and got ready for Commerce, and the kids did a super job, and, we hope we're back on the right track, and we need to be, because every week there's a tough one coming, and we have a tough one next week, too.
Well, the Pleasant Grove Hawks opened their 1986 15 3A ball game with the DeKalb Bears. We'll talk a bit about that after these messages.
In a world of ordinary mowers, Tough customers look for the extraordinary, which isn't easy to find, until you come to Aaron's. Aaron's gives you variable speed control, folding handlebars, more bagging capacity, and more years of service.
Aaron's makes being tough easy.
Aaron's, the easy choice for tough customers.
Available at Hunter Power Saw Company, 4810 West 7th Highway 67, Texarkana.
Congratulations to the Pleasant Grove Hawks on their opening victory this season. Tony Wilshire has purchased this space in our Pleasant Grove football show for the purpose of wishing the Pleasant Grove Hawks the best in the 1986 football season. If you haven't been to a Hawks game, make your plans to check the schedule, come out to see them play. Our Hawk team is one of the finest groups of outstanding young men to be found anywhere, and we wish them well. Again, from Tony Wilshire and family, go get 'em Hawks and have the best of the 1986 season.
Hi, this is Minimax Headroom's Pop Quiz. And what I want to know is, Swagger, where does the refreshing new phrase, catch the wave, come from? Obviously, Cokeologists. Blindfold, please. Quicker next time. In blind taste tests, which pop drink did more people prefer? The new taste of Coke or Pepsi? Pepsi! Wrong. I love trick questions. Coke! Coke. The new taste of Coke. It's true. You heard it here first. Catch the wave. Coke.
Pleasant Grove finishes their 1986 non-conference schedule with a very positive 2-1 record. They'll be opening their 1986 15-3A conference with the DeKalb Bears. DeKalb also 2-1 in non-conference, Johnny.
DeKalb was picked by most of the coaches and sports writers to be one of the top 2 teams in the district this year, and this next week will be a big test for the Hawks. The Bears beat us last year 18-13. The Hawks had a very good effort against DeKalb, and we expect them to have a good effort again this next Friday night. It will be an 8 o'clock ball game at Hawk Stadium.
It'll be more or less day-to-day as far as Tony Wilshire, as far as injury. We won't know anything about that till this coming week.
Well, we hope maybe by Tuesday of this week to get some idea of what his schedule will be, and all we can do is, hope and pray that for Tony that, he will be able to come back and play. But Tony Wilshire hadn't played his last football game. If he doesn't play anymore, he's going to play somewhere next year, we feel like.
The DeKalb Bears come to Pleasant Grove next Friday night. Still will be an 8 p.m. ball game. If you don't get a chance to go to the ball game, be sure to listen in on Dimension Cable Channel 2 each Sunday and Tuesday night at 7:30 p.m. for the playback on Dimension Cable Channel 2. Before we leave the show, we're going to be going back to the practice field. This time, Johnny Toombs will be talking to his offensive backs and also with the junior high coaches. Until next week, join us for Pleasant Grove Hawk football.
Today, I'd like to introduce the offensive backs. I'm very pleased to be coaching this group of young men. They've worked very hard in practice, and we're looking for big things this fall on the gridiron from these people. And at this time, I'd like to introduce them to you. Brian Borgeson, Brian McAllister, Kirk Malone, Paul Ubry, Don Simpson, Brian Alford, Van Morris, Jeremy Munier, John Simpson, Tony Wilshire, Chad Coleman, Fred Jones, Brian Baker, David Fawcett, Todd Hiron, Todd Martin, Trace Warren, David Oliver, Jeff Wright. We're very excited about our running backs this year for Pleasant Grove, and we're looking for very exciting Friday nights from them and hope you all will be able to come out and watch them play. Today, I'd like to introduce our junior high coaches to the Hawk fans. On my right is Coach Mike Walsh. He'll be the 8th grade coach and be the head coach at the junior high. And on my left is John Davis, who will be the 7th grade coach. Coach Walsh came to us from Dangerfield High School, and of course their program has been very successful. And Coach Davis came to us from Hot Springs Lakeside in Hot Springs, Arkansas. In addition to their junior high coaching duties, these two men will do our scouting for us and will process all of our scout reports. And we're very pleased to have them with us at Pleasant Grove, and they're really going to be an asset to our program.
Pleasant Grove football has been brought to you by Athletic Supply, Davis Shoes, Luther Bells, Jimmy Cobb Insurance, Texarkana Athletic Club, Regency House, McGuire Sound, Photomation, Coca-Cola Bottling Company, Orr Chevrolet, Texarkana Immediate Care, Raffaelli Realty, Hunter Power Saw, American National Bank, White's Glenwood House, Pepsi-Cola Bottling Company, Hopkins Economart, Teachers Credit Union, Daily Fence Company, Ramblin' Rose Florist, and Wilshire Homes Incorporated. Pleasant Grove Football is a production of Dimension Media Services.